Hi, everybody. You've probably had just barely a moment to breathe. Thank you. But I do need to introduce the next presenter, Jennifer Bushmanis. Did I say that correct? Bushman? One of the fish and seafood industry most respected communicators, teachers, and strategists. For more than 2 decades, Jennifer has worked with brands like Verlasso, Dole, Kraft, Unilever, and many, many more. She taught thousands through her culinary school, Nothing to It, and has been recognized numerous times by the James Beard Foundation and the International Association of Culinary Professionals. In addition, Jennifer has authored the best selling Kitchen Coach cookbook series. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer.
Thank you. So I'm here today because I've actually worked in sustainable aquaculture for nearly a decade. And I always find it very interesting. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. I feel like there's a lot of tension between our water farmers and an understanding between the role that they play with wild fisheries and a balance between what we actually demand between the wild stocks and sustainable aquaculture. And I had an idea about 4 years ago. I have a company that just focuses on bringing water farmers to market that are doing this sustainably. That if we could engage a broader community, we actually could really change the perception around what water farmers do and their role in being able to save the ocean. So about a year ago, we started filming with 10-time world champion surfer and paddleboarder Jamie Mitchell. It's a short documentary, and then I'm going to explain to you the process of how we made it and what we did in that journey. So first, we'll watch it.
People today know me as a waterman, but there was a time when I was a kid with debilitating asthma. The slightest activity could mean a trip to the emergency room. One day a doctor didn't prescribe their usual drugs. He sent me to swimming lessons. The water healed me, and I never left.
How would you introduce your buddy Jamie?
Well, I guess I could go back to, where I first heard about Jamie Mitchell. It was probably already to his 9th consecutive win paddling across the Molokai Channel. So he was already kind of a hero. It's not easy to do, and it's something that you mentally have to endure some serious pain to do it. So I've already, just hearing his name without actually meeting him, I already had kind of a respect for him. To paddle across a 32-mile channel each and every time and to win, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of focus. It's not really a paddle across the channel, it's surfing across the channel. And it's reading bumps and catching glides and saving energy. So he's got this innate feeling in reading ocean water, which you can't teach. You just got to experience it and spend the time in the ocean.
You want this, huh? Here it is. Thank you. All right, we're ready to go? Yeah. Off to school. Yeah. The ocean and nature has given me everything in my life. It's been my biggest teacher. It's taught me so many lessons, and lessons that I'm going to teach my daughter and my family. And you know, for me, it's time to step up to the plate and give a lot more back.
Good morning, Nevaeh.
One more big kiss and a hug. Ah, I love you. You have fun today, okay? See ya. Bye.
The basic estimates by most of the non-governmental organizations say that the ocean is depleted by more than 90%. And I started to think about it. Who's the person that's going to care the most about this? It's the guy who puts his board underneath his arm and gets in the water every day. I started to do research about the way in which the surf community actually engages from an environmental perspective. And what I found was the majority of it had to do with picking up trash on the beach. And I thought, you know what, if we can get the buy-in of this community to understand how important aquaculture is, not only for them as athletes and the food that they eat, but even further being able to protect the resource they value the most, I knew that we could actually turn the tide on people's opinions about sustainable aquaculture.
I really wanted to come here with a super open mind. There's a lot of negative stuff out there, so I didn't want to have that impact on my mind when I first came. So I nearly wanted my mind to be pure about what I'm about to see.
But there is a chance here that they're gonna like put on the song and dance for you and kind of try to pull the wool over our eyes. You know what I mean?
I think that if I want to ask something, he's going to ask something, you know, like, I'm figuring that's why I'm here. We're in beautiful Chile, right on the border here in Patagonia, and what an amazing spot. I've been brought here to come and check out all the farms down here, you know, and see about the aquaculture. A lot of my friends who are surfers in Chile are very against this exact thing that I'm down here, you know, trying to understand better. We're going to go see the farms and see how they do it, talk to the people that are running the whole thing. So I'm excited to, you know, ask some hard questions and you know, see what the answers are.
I think aquaculture is one of the undiscovered gems out there that when people start peeling back the layers of the onion and learning more about it, they can get really excited about it. I really believe it's the future of how we're going to produce food to feed our planet. It's one of our most resource-efficient animal proteins. It takes very little feed, very little fresh water, and very little space to produce the highest caliber, most nutritionally dense proteins that we have available.
Esto es nuestro software y de aquí controlamos la actividad de los peces. Estos son nuestros monitores, cómo están alimentando lo que está pasando en el minuto en la jaula. La actividad se regula a medida que se suben o bajan los peces. Le damos más alimento o menos alimento dependiendo de nosotros lo que vemos en el monitor. Es importante el monitoreo porque así evitamos la pérdida del alimento y nos aseguramos que cada pez esté saciado.
One very important thing for the quality of life of the fish is the pen density. That means how close are one to the other and how much space they have to swim and to make the movements they want to do.
And the benefits of that for the fish?
Less density means less fish, less waste.
Less waste.
It's better quality for them. It's better options to swim and to exercise and to prepare the muscles to get growth. But it's quality.
Not bad. The water looks as pristine as water gets, you know, and you know, I was lucky enough to jump in. I had my foil board with me and I had my stand-up paddle board and I paddled around the farm and got to have a real up-close look at the water, and you know, it's some of the most pristine water in the world. But on the flip side of that, that's why the people are angry, because they want to see that pristine water and their environment stays as it is, which I do too. I think a big question from a surfing point of view is the impact that it has to the coastline, and then also the feed and underneath, how that's cleared away and all that stuff.
Well, that's part of the job to be done, because I mean, if we don't take care of the bottom of the ocean, if we overuse the ocean, it will kill our industry.
Yeah.
We feel that by farming the ocean is a way of avoiding the overfishing of the nature.
Yeah.
But the other thing we have to take care of is how we impact the environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's no doubt that the food is needed. And the challenge is for us is to do it the right way.
I have been coming to Todos Santos for over a decade, and I wouldn't have had a clue that there was a aquaculture farm, you know, sitting right there, like a couple hundred feet from where we surf, you know, killers. So I think that's a perfect example of when something's run right and the right way, that you don't notice it. We can all, you know, surfers and, you know, the farms and the fish can live harmoniously, and everyone can get their fix of the ocean.
One interesting and amazing thing that we've come across in this industry is how open everyone is. Everyone wants to help one another. There's one global mission, which is we really need this, make it better. So no one's trying to hide any secrets, which I think will really play a huge factor in kind of the ultimate success of what we're all trying to accomplish.
Just like chicken can be farmed well and chicken can be farmed badly, it's the same with fish. Fish can be farmed well and it can be farmed badly. And I think our job as producers and as stewards of this industry is to educate the consumer and to show them that yes, this can be done well. And it can be done in a place as special as Todos Santos, living in coexistence with all this wildlife and with this break and the surfers.
You want to go in a cage? Well, divers go in a cage. Yeah, you've got a wetsuit on, you should be fine.
You want to go in a cage?
Am I going in a cage? Fish?
Water's magic. It feels like you're nearly swimming in a freshwater lake, like Tahoe or something. It's pretty beautiful, pretty amazing. One thing I got from Chile and Patagonia was, like, people need to know you know, what you guys are doing, Velasso's doing. I think education's key. That people understand that there is a right way and a good way, and people are out there doing that. As surfers, we have a responsibility to look after the ocean. It's where a lot of us make our livings. It's where a lot of us raise our children and, you know, spend all of our time. Without a doubt, we need to, you know, work on sustainable solutions that we can rely on so we can eat seafood for future generations.
There are so many great projects coming on board, and the ones that are making me excited are groups like Sohn Aquaculture, which is raising this stunning snow white halibut in Norway, Matorka Aquaculture that's raising Arctic char in Iceland, Pacifico sea bass, and Verlasso salmon. And I think the most important thing is we're going to see aquaculture grow, and now we have the chance to do it right.
So we always have to show that piece at the end while he's actually navigating down Lake General Carrera, because it took us 32 hours traveling all the way through Chile to get to that spot where he had naval approval to be the first paddleboarder to ever paddle on that lake. It's actually where Douglas Tompkins, the founder of North Face, passed away with Yvon Chouinard. It's a very special place. I think it's pretty much the only way we got him to take this journey was that he knew we sort of had to take the badass surfer and be able to really give him the incentive and the carrot to go through all of this. And I wanted to tell you about this journey because I think it's really important that you understand. You know, this was not easy. We certainly took our time with this journey, and it really was something that was very interesting. We started off, first of all, as I said before, with an idea about 4 years ago, and engaging with an organization called Surfline. Surfline is the largest wave prediction model that's utilized through mobile platform in the world. There are 20 million active users on Surfline, and what that meant to us as sustainable aquaculture advocates was that we could take a platform where 20 million active users that are boaters and surfers in the US, they use their wave prediction model for NOAA and other organizations to determine where sea farms would be placed. And we would work with them to be able to amplify this cause beyond what would be sort of the B2B industry conversation. So we interviewed a lot of surfers. We ended up coming up with Jamie Mitchell because, as you could see from the story, he's kind of the right guy at the right time with the family. He is the badass of surfers. He's a 10-time world champion. That Molokai paddle, he won 10 years in a row, and he is on the Big Wave World Champion Surf League Tour. And he was known as the GOAT, quite literally, by those people like Kelly Slater and other champion surfers. When I interviewed him, I didn't know what the GOAT was. Apparently the greatest of all time, but we had to ask him why people called him the GOAT. We felt a little bit silly. And I can tell you that when he arrived in Chile, he was literally a fish out of water, and he looks it, right? I mean, we had him with his boards. We were taking him to a country that was very far away. At this moment, he was tired, he was exhausted, and he was really wondering what he was doing. I can literally say that Jamie Mitchell at this point was a fish out of water. We put him on a plane. He had actually traveled from Honolulu, Hawaii, to San Francisco, to Dallas, to Santiago, to Puerto Montt, to Malinca, Chile, where he got on a boat for 3 hours to end up in Region 12. When I tell you, I felt like, did anybody see the movie The Shape of Water? Yeah, and she was like looking for a bathtub for him because like his skin literally, like his scales were beginning to fall off. I'm pretty sure that was my guy. He was definitely looking for water. And I can tell you there had been a lot of tension. He has millions of followers on social media. By accident, we had said that we let him post invitations to a surfing camp with children in Chile with a world champion surfer that's Chilean by the name of Ramon Navarro. By the time Jamie got to Malinca and on this boat, he had faced protest. He had faced social media outrage. And when I tell you he was literally ready to leave, he was ready to leave. And so we were kind of hanging on by a thread. We were like, just stick it through. Because by the time you get into Region 12, where there are only 2 other water farms in areas where they're so beautiful and pristine with fallowing and no industrialization, the perfect spot for aquaculture, you could see that he was beginning to understand why we want him to get down there and why we wanted him to find his own voice in this. It wasn't so much what the surf community and the NGOs and what chefs and everyone else were telling him. You really had to get your own eye on it to see how special it was. Verlasso salmon was the first ever ocean-raised farm salmon to be given a good buy rating from Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. So that's how important this program was. It's one of only in all of Chile to have that rating. And he asked a lot of questions, but he was really skeptical. I can tell you that all the way through this, he's thinking about losing his Quicksilver sponsorship. He's thinking about whether or not this is worth it. I think my guy was really looking for the sticker on his board more than he was really thinking about the risk he was taking. And this is really kind of that sort of interesting shot as he's looking out on the water and thinking, really, what the hell have I gotten myself into? And am I going to stick it through? And I love this shot because it's all of the interviews that he did all throughout Chile were of farmers and of community to really understand the impacts and to understand how important it was. And then even still here, he's really thinking about, am I going to be able to stick this through? And then when we took him to this island off of the coast of Ensenada, California, in Baja California in Mexico, I think this is the moment where the light bulb turned on. So you saw in the film, he said he had been surfing Killers, which is one of a handful of areas where the 100-foot wave forms. He'd been on the WSL tour. The tour had stopped here, and he'd been on a boat out of the harbor and passing Pacifico Aquaculture for 10 years. Now, normally surfers, they really like to protest water farming. They think it's in their surf break. They think it's an attraction for sharks. There are all of these sort of non-scientific reasons why they protest aquaculture. And then all of a sudden, here's Jamie sitting in an environment that he'd been in, and guess what? The water farmer didn't bother him. And I think that's where the light bulb really turned on. And then he swam with the fish, and you saw what that looked like. It wasn't poopy, horrible water. This is a beautiful submarine channel where the water actually is fresh every 2 minutes as it flows through the pen, where the pen densities are less than the fish school themselves. And this is quite literally the only true striped bass that's farmed in the world in the ocean. And so he began to kind of take it in. And he didn't just take it in. I want to tell you what he did. First, he invited us to Pipe Masters, which is one of the most important world championships for the World Championship Surf League. And he invited us to speak to surfers. We talked about it. We had a dinner where we actually ate different farmed fish that are sustainably raised. And I think the light bulb really went on. We premiered the film at the Seafood Expo of North America in Boston. And I don't know if you can imagine, but this guy shows up in March in Boston, Massachusetts, in the U.S., in his flip-flops, and now he really is a fish out of water. He went on to show it at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. We showed the film with him 12 different times throughout the year this year, taking it all the way to a dinner which we had at the Aspen Food and Wine Festival, which is considered to be one of the most important food and wine festivals in the United States. We added Lance Armstrong into the mix because why not have more controversy? Aquaculture wasn't enough. But we ended up with an amazing campaign. And this is really where I'm going to conclude this. The film to date has had over 1 million downloads. We launched it on Surfline on June 17th, the day after the Lance Armstrong dinner. We had 4 chefs from the United States from the show Top Chef who actually cooked a sustainable dinner, and then we had press that was there. As the press was launching, and as we launched this on Surfline, we ended up with almost 1 million downloads of the film and 40 million impressions on the campaign itself. I mean, in our world in sustainable aquaculture, that's kind of a big deal. And the goat had really done his job, let me tell you, because what it was doing was it was creating conversation. That was all we could really ask for. And I can tell you, when we got in the room and we talked about the journey of the water farmer and the waterman, we were really able to make a difference in the eyes of the people that were watching it. And the surfer didn't just stand tall and champion aquaculture. I want to tell you about what he was doing now. He actually went to the World Oceans Gala, presented by the Prince's Foundation, Prince Albert Foundation of Monaco, with the Prince and Princess of Monaco, and for the first time is getting the foundation to consider investing some of its millions of dollars that it's raised in supporting water farmers of all levels, from sea veg to oysters to shrimp, all the way to, of course, marine-based aquaculture as well for finfish. And he's planning something else. The Wrigley Foundation, Wrigley Gum, actually based off of Catalina Island, is now going to sponsor the first ever paddle between all of the Channel Islands that are along the coast of California. He'll be the first one to ever paddle it, and he's going to be championing and talking about aquaculture along the way next July. So thank you all very much for watching the film. And what I say to you is learn the journey of the water farmer, because it's very important, just as our land farmers are. So thank you all very much.